More than 100 Christian leaders in London, England, have filed a legal challenge claiming lockdown measures there prohibiting in-person church services are unreasonable and criminalizing public communal worship. Joining us live from London to explain this issue further is Tim Dieppe, the head of public policy at Christian Concern, a faith advocacy group that is supporting this claim. Thanks so much for joining us today, Tim. Tell us where this legal challenge stands at this moment.
So we are applying for permission for a judicial review of the government's decision to criminalize gathered worship during the lockdown. The church, it's been illegal to go to church over the last month, and that came to an end just beginning of early December. But in fact, still in Northern Ireland, it's illegal to go to church till December the 11th. And the churches, were not allowed to host worship meetings. They were allowed to host food banks and blood banks and other similar activities. But if you had a prayer meeting or you did any worship, that would be illegal. A clear discrimination in law then against spiritual activities that was instigated by the government here in the UK. And furthermore, other organizations and groups like off licenses and DIY stores and garden centers are allowed to open while churches are forced to stay closed. We view this as a significant breach of human rights, of freedom of religion. And like you said, more than 100 Christian leaders are seeking a judicial review of that decision. We believe that it's contrary to law and contrary to basic freedoms, and also that it breaches the independence of church and state, which is very well established in our law of this country. So yes, we're seeking a judicial review.
Just to clarify, when you say it's illegal to go to church, it's illegal to be in-person gatherings. There is still the ability to meet online, correct?
Yes, you can meet online and you can host live streams with a certain limited number of people on the live stream. Although actually recently the police interrupted a live stream that was a allowed live stream and told him that it was illegal. And so there's a lot of confusion here about what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and the police aren't aware, and they're sometimes stopping legal activities. But yes, you are allowed to obviously meet online and even run a live stream from a church building with limited numbers, but not allow people to gather in person where you can lay on hands and share breaking of bread and baptism and all of these important things.
Let's talk more about the police disruption. A number of church services have been disrupted and members disrupted from entering into the building. Tell us about some of those cases that you have been made aware of.
So the one I was referring to was actually a live stream. So it wasn't even a proper church service. They were just running a live stream, and somebody complained and police came. In the end, 9 police officers came when there was only about 12 or 15 people in the live stream. And told them that it was illegal, and they said no, it's not, and there was an argument here and so on. Obviously now it's been established that it was legal and they were doing nothing wrong, but the police intimidation was quite something. There was another church that did meet in breach of, they said we're just going to continue to meet anyway, and the police they went on the media and said that, and the police turned up and blocked entry into the building. But still allowed a live stream to take place, and allowed some of them to meet outside as well. And we know that other churches have been meeting undercover or underground, so to speak, in secret, because people are very keen to meet and worship and have fellowship and share and pray for each other and worship together. But that's been criminalized in this latest lockdown that we've had here in this country.
Tim, some people watching might say, why don't the pastors just comply? Is this not about the safety of their membership and of others? What would you say to that?
Well, I'd say that the vast majority of churches are complying, if reluctantly, but I'd also say that isn't it the case that spiritual health is more important than physical health? And isn't that the message that we should be saying to community and to society at large, that, how crazy is it that we're not able to meet and pray to the God who gives life and the God who made this and made us? And isn't that a more important thing? Isn't that the most essential thing? How come that if supermarkets are allowed to open, if DIY stores are allowed to open, if off licenses are allowed to open, if bicycle stores are allowed to open, but churches are not allowed to open, is church ministry that more dangerous? Is it, there's no cases, no known cases of transmission in a church that complies with COVID measures, no known cases. And yet they're allowed to run food banks, allowed to run blood donation, allowed to run other social activities, but not spiritual activities. There's a clear discrimination here. And people want to meet and pray together as Jesus commanded, that where two or three gather together, there I am with them. There's a power in the presence of meeting together with other people.
All right. Well, I mean, we could clarify. I mean, we could go down a rabbit trail with that. I mean, we could pray. We could pray right now. We're not in the same country, at least, but we'll leave that for another day. Theresa May, the former prime minister, also raised concerns about the ban, suggesting in Parliament that making it illegal to conduct an act of worship, public worship, for the best of intentions, sets a precedent that could be misused for government in the future and with worse intentions. Were you expecting Ms. May to support this movement?
Well, Theresa May is the daughter of a Christian minister. And so she does, she is a church-going person as well. She goes to church every week. And so she has a faith of kinds. And so in that sense, it's not surprising that she stood up for church ministry and Christian ministry and was alert to the fact that this sets a dangerous precedent. As she said, it might be with the best of intentions, but it sets the precedent for the worst of intentions. And our diplomacy abroad has been undermined by this. We're often trying to persuade other countries that they ought not to close churches. And now, of course, those countries can point back at us and say, but you did close churches. And then we'll say, oh, we did it for safety reasons. Well, those countries will also argue it's for safety reasons. And therefore, our international advocacy for freedom of religion around the world is undermined by this measure.
All right. Tim Dieppe, the head of public policy at Christian Concern, a faith advocacy group out of London, England. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you.